I'm going to tie a polywing caddis dry for you. For many years I used a CDC underwing, but in keeping with the dry flies, the emergers that I tie, I started using polypropylene for the underwing, and I like it so much better. I'm going to share it with you today, with you the tie. First of all, I use a tie this fly on the same scud hook, the Daiichi 1130. There's the Daiichi 1130. I like this style hook for this dry fly because it causes the abdomen to protrude under the surface a little, gives it a better picture to the trout on the way in, and also because it gives me a wider hook gap for it with the right hook shank length. Okay, so the first step with this, as you saw me do, is to pinch the barb off. I always pinch the barb in my Regal vise when I start, and I'm going to take my my thread, which is a camel uni thread. There it is. You can see it there in the picture. It's 6/0 camel uni thread. Any light brown thread. Really, you're going to match the thread to the color of the caddis's head that you're trying to tie. So if you have a caddis that has a really dark head, you'd use a darker brown thread. Now I'm going to use my tag end here as a ramp to throw touching turns all the way down until I get close to the end. And now you'll see I'm going to take this and turn it up and take my thread body all the way down almost to the vise. And then it's time to put some dubbing on. The dubbing I'm going to use for this one is a Hairtron light olive brown. It has a little bit of Antron in it, which gives it some sparkle. I like this Hairtron dubbing, and you can see it's there are many different choices, of course, for dry fly dubbing. I just happen to like the ones that have a little bit of sparkle in them. So the Antron included in the rabbit hair is a good combination. There are others. Mainly what I want to demonstrate for you is this style of tying and the way I use the polypropylene for the wing. Okay, so I'm gonna dub this hook shank all the way up to right about where I'm going to attach the wings, and you'll see it's kind of spiky. That's okay, I don't mind spiky. And now I'm going to tie my poly wing. As you've seen me in my other videos using poly, I take the poly right out of the package and I use a piece of Velcro to scratch the kinks out of it and get it all nice and linear. And then I cut a whack of it off and I divide it down. Now on this fly, I don't want much poly. I merely want just a noodle of poly. You can see the diameter of that. It's going to become my underwing on this caddis dry fly. So now I just drop my bobbin over, turn it 90 degrees, drop my bobbin over, and there you go. I've got a nice cross-tied wing. Of course, it's too perpendicular to the hook shank, so what I'm going to do now is pull the wing back and start throwing thread on in front of it until I reach the delta wing attitude that I like, characteristic of a downwing caddis fly. You can see now the wing's starting to lay back at the right attitude. Maybe one more turn, pull it hard, and that's going to do it for that. Then I'm going to take my scissors, measure my wing at about, in this size 16 hook, I'm going to protrude maybe a little over a hook gap behind the hook. Snip that off and reach around and trim off the sharp corners. Give it more of a wing appearance. Okay. Now the next step, I'll show you that front and back, and you can see where that wing lies on the fly. A little bit of trimming up here. Next, I'm going to take some Comparadun deer hair and clip the right amount for a top wing for this caddis dry fly. And the way I do that is I slip my scissors under the amount of hair that I want, like that, and I pull the hair up vertical and maybe back a little from the skin, and that avoids having to do any stacking. I detest stacking deer hair. It's noisy, it makes my dog bark, it gets my wife unhappy. So I don't stack deer hair. I just pull it to the right attitude. Now what I'm doing, I'm getting the fuzz out of the deer hair, and a little bit of body fuzz. And you see, there's like a bias in any deer hair. There's a bend to it, or what I call a bias. The way you get rid of that is just bend the deer hair between thumb and forefinger, and randomize the bias. Okay, so it doesn't take much spinning. You don't want to spin it too much. You'll start to separate the fibers lengthwise. But I'm just going to randomize the fiber by spinning it. And you see, there it is. It looks pretty good. I'll see if you can see it against a darker background, but here it is. Now I'm going to pinch that down, and I'm going to lay this on just about so the tips of the deer hair protrudes beyond the poly. Remember, this is a top wing. I'm going to throw 2 coils around while I hold it tight, and then bend it toward me to take the the tendency for it to roll. So I'm going to pull it over toward me when I pull that down tight. And 2 or 3 turns. I'm going to do 3 turns on that. Then I'm going to pick up the front half of it and take 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to let that hang and come back here and get my whip finisher. And before I cut my head, I'm going to go ahead and whip finish. Reason for that is I can get a hold of this much better, get all the fibers out of the way, all the butt ends out of the way, and I can throw my 4 or 5 turns on there for a whip finish, and then I can get rid of that. And the next and final step is to take the butt ends forward on the head. I hope you can see that okay. I'll turn it a little bit. You can see how that looks. Pretty ragged right now, but I'll take the butt ends, gather them up, thumb and forefinger, slide my scissors in against the eye of the hook, spin them, and give it a nip. Now if I do that, if I do a lot of these flies, I can start to cut that with one cut and not have to go back and do this trimming. I'm going to trim this one a little bit. The first one I've tied today. So then I got my head. If there's any stray fibers that you don't want in there, just tidy them up, as somebody says on the internet. And you'll see this is what we've got now is a poly underwing caddis with a top deer hair, compared on deer hair wing. This thing will float like a cork. It will suspend a nymph under it, a beadhead nymph. I use often a caddis larva of the same species that is active for the dry, or I'll put a pupa behind it. And in any case, it makes a really good indicator because of its floating ability. And there you go. There is the polywing caddis with a deer hair top wing. And I've gone to using this for all species of caddis on the Little Juniata River. Different body color, different poly color, different deer hair, depending on the species. But it makes a really good dry fly. And you'll notice the trout eye view of this thing, if I could get it to sit down here properly. It wants to turn down, which is great because it's going to fall with the hook down every time. However, I'm going to turn it up so you can see the underwing and how much of a caddis looking underwing that is. There you go. And dropped it on the floor. No one ever does that, I'm sure, not in videos anyway. And I'll get this out of the way so you can see it lay on the white here. So there is the caddis with a 10 poly underwing I'm going to zip in on this if I can get it to zoom. It's not zooming for me, so it must already be zoomed. And so I'll just hold it up. And there you go. Notice the poly, the underwing profile. Again, if you get any deer hair where you don't want it, just snip it off up close to the head and make a nice clean wing profile on the underside. After all, it's what the trout sees. The only thing they see really is the underside of the fly. And you can see how the deer hair protrudes slightly on each side. Okay, there you go. I tie them all that way, including granums and green bodies and tan bodies and brown bodies. There's a large variety of caddis on the Little Juniata River, and you need an assortment when you go there. And this is the preferred tie for my money, because it floats so well, extremely durable, catch multiple fish without any dressing, and that's how it works.